Hi, my name is Debbie Triplett, and I'm co-owner of Triplett Harps, along with my husband Steve. This is what we do here. We make Celtic harps. Celtic harps are also called lever harps or folk harps. They're different than pedal harps because a Celtic harp actually has the sharpening mechanism on the neck of the harp. Where a pedal harp, you have to use pedals in order to get sharps and flats. The difference being the concert harps are the pedal harps because you do have flats when you're playing in an orchestra. The folk harp has just the sharps, so you do have to have special music when you're playing a folk harp versus, say, piano music. This harp, for example, is a 38-string harp, and this harp has a full range for somebody looking for something that they could play for a lifetime. This harp has a few different parts. This is the neck of a harp, and it's also called the harmonic curve right here. Here's the pillar that goes into the soundboard. This is the front, called the soundboard, and this is the back, or the body of the harp, where the sound comes out of and it resonates from. Each harp has colored strings, and as you can see on this harp, when you have 3 white strings in a row, your A is in the middle of the white strings. So the harp notes actually are A, B, C, D, E, F, G, which is the exact same notes as on a piano. We've been in business for 30 years and we do sell our harps all over the world. Obviously we sell locally too, but it is nice to have established such a wonderful business overseas through the years of making high quality, wonderful sounding and looking harps. It says a lot to us as a company that we're that well respected internationally. Finest quality woods. We work mostly with bubinga, walnut, cherry, maple, and some sapele. And the wood that we purchase, we have to buy these big hunks of wood, which is actually called 8/4. And why we use such big pieces of wood is because when we cut out the necks and pillars, we put pattern pieces on here, and we cut them out to make the grain go in a perfect direction for that piece of wood, so the neck does not get weak. Each harp has about 1,800 pounds of pressure going through its neck, and with those strings pulling down, we just don't want the necks to snap. We do buy our lumber locally, but it is all over the world since we use the bubinga, which is an African rosewood. The walnut tends to be more localized, walnut, maple, and cherry. We're always looking for some kind of figure in our boards too, and that's why we hand pick all of our woods. We make 2 different kinds of soundboards. The soundboards are either made of a composition of spruce and cedar. We actually use cedar to bring out the top end of the sound of the notes. And then spruce is kind of a typical fine line instrument wood. And then we also use a Balch to Baltic birch. This actually sounds really good in our instruments as well. But that being said, you'll prefer the spruce it seems. Here's an example of what happens when it's all laid up. We've got your spruce down here, cedar is up here. Then we put in, this one actually has an electric pickup system in it. So you can see the pickup that's put right through the soundboard. And it does pick up on every string. Then we've got a brace down here. On the front, we've got a veneer. This one happens to be bubinga. We put these together with a marine epoxy, so they're all temperature, and we put this on a suction table, and then once we've done that, we process it through one of our sanders, and we make this board go from a thin to a thicker base, so the notes come out clearer on the top end and then have more resonance at the bottom end.
I'm Ben, Ben Swanson. I work here at Triplett Harps. I've worked here for about, 4.5 years, something like that. Basically the crux of my job is building the bodies for the harps, which is the hollow chamber which allows a harp to be resonant, to be heard. Has the sound holes and the soundboard all attached to it. I take it from, this is a stave harp, which is stave meaning 5 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And these are all glued together. I do all the stitch taping that you see here and glue these bodies into this shape. There's also another style of body we have is the square back. This is actually glued together to the blocks first rather than the other way around on the stave backs. So this actually ends up being a little easier to build. It's a little different construction. This would be the Sierra 34 model. You can see this is the side, this is the left side, the right side. This would be the surface that the soundboard gets glued to. And you can see how it would sit tipping backwards like this. The player would sit like this and play. So after I build the body, which this is the soundboard that goes with it, I will glue the soundboard on the front, put the back on the back, and do some other more decorative additions to it, and then I pass it off to our foreman.
We're cutting out our necks and pillars like we were showing you previously with the wood. We end up with a piece that looks like this. This actually has been drilled. This example here has been already drilled by Robert, our foreman. And we have our tuning pinholes and our bridge pinholes all pre-drilled. Then we have a matching neck, still out of the 8-quarter wood. And what we do is we book match everything. So these pieces of wood are cut out from the same tree. We like doing that obviously because as a woman, I like to make sure everything matches. And it just looks more beautiful when it's cut out of the same piece of wood. So these end up getting joined. And here's a good example of what it would look like once it has been joined. You've got your neck and your pillar. And all our joints are just perfect, which makes our harp feel like one piece of wood. When we put the neck and pillar together, we process it through a sander and make it so it's all flush. This is an automotive spray booth, and we use this because you cannot buy a harp spray booth. What we do is we hang the necks or pillars by themselves, one at a time, from this hook. And the manager here, he comes and he sprays the finish on, and then when the spray hits the harp, it actually leaves the downdraft booth, goes up through the vents and out. So that way you don't get an accumulation of finish on the harp, which would make the sound and the tone vary. We really like the fact that we are able to control everything here at our factory, including the spray finish. This is the stringing area, and what happens here is we have to put all the pins on the harp and then obviously string up the harp. Since the harp's under so much tension, the pins need to be put in properly and seated deeply into the neck in order for the strings to go on easily. It's also where we tune the harp multiple times, so when it goes over to the lever area, the lever technician has an easier time with this process. Because the lever technician is actually making all the sharp notes accurate. This is our string machine, and this machine works really well for us because it does have a reverse on it. When the person that's making the strings is winding each string, they have to be careful that it's done at a certain tension, and sometimes the string can break during the winding process, and it also has to be wound at a certain tightness. So if there's any kind of overlap, they can put it in reverse and go backwards. This is one of the machines that Steve has made here, and we do have a lot of machinery that has been made by him, since you can't buy harp making machinery. We've got a lot of machines actually through Ernie Ball and through National Recipe Guitars. Stuff that they're not using anymore, we buy and revamp for us and use for harp making. As you can see on the wall, there's different kinds of strings that we make. Some are wire core strings, and some are nylon core strings. And each string on the harp is different because each one's going to have a different tonal quality. These are the wound strings. We also have monofilaments, which means that they're not wound, and they're different diameters of nylon, which is basically fishing wire. This is our art department, and in here we actually do all kinds of different layups for people if they want to have a design on their harp. This, for example, was something that we did, and obviously we cut it off, but this was going to be on the front of a harp. And first we did the carving part of the inlay with our laser engraver, and then we actually did some recessed holes right through where the abalone goes. Then we used ablam, which is a flat style of abalone. We cut the abalone out, and then we could put it back in this area. And then we could actually go back, and as long as we put it into the guide correctly into the laser, we're able to put some fine line detail on top. So if you look very closely, this actually has little tiny round holes all throughout it that were done with the laser afterwards. Here's another example of some inlay that we did out of abalone. Same kind of thing where we had to cut the recess out first. And when I talk about cutting out a recess, it basically looks like this. Here's an example of some inlay we did using wood. And you can see that the recess is on this thin veneer here that we have. We cut out the hole needed to put the object. So for example, you can see this fish is just about popping out of this right here. But these were all done with separate pieces of wood. This looks like it was a walnut and cherry and maple laid into this. And this is like doing a puzzle. When you cut out your pieces, they're going to look like this. And you use whatever different colors you want into the process here. So that's, a lot of people really like having some kind of detail on their harp. Department, and since we make everything here, from the harp to the case to the strings, we of course make the boxes as well. Most of the boxes we do have to make, but some we get to recycle. For example, we go to Adler's and we have a little program with them where we get some of their old boxes and some of their polyplank and some of the debris that they have left over. Instead of going to a landfill, it comes here and we use it for padding in our boxes. Cindy does such a great job padding these boxes because they do ship all over the world. 70% of our business is outside the United States, so we ship internationally through trucking companies. We do ship some things through the U.S. mail. This is where the boxes start from, a piece of cardboard, and we make them to custom fit every single harp. Because if your harp fits well in the box, it's going to be shipped a little easier, and it's not going to have problems once it hits the truck. It gets jostled around. So we do take a lot of care in shipping and packing these harps. Like to recycle, then we ask people if they could please return their boxes to us if at all possible. I know it's difficult, but some people actually do. And we do give a refund of $35, and it really does help keep cardboard out of the landfills. I hope you enjoyed the tour of the Triplett Harp Company. Now that you have seen how the harps are made, I'm sure you would like to hear and see one being played. I am pleased to introduce harpist extraordinaire and my personal friend, Cynthia Artiche.